Hello and welcome to this Junior's Gasoline Alley, where today we're going to be addressing, well, a really annoying fault, and that is my driver's window is no longer working. Now that ended up happening on a super cold day. Luckily, with help from my wife, we were able to get it back up into place, but unfortunately, it's just not working at all, which means we need to get it fixed. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. It's just over freezing today, although it's still really cold, but way better than the other day when I went ahead and got it stuck down. Well, that was single-digit degrees. I've done all the kind of the normal things. It started to get slow before, and people online said, oh, put in a little bit of silicone, what have you. Clearly, that was not the solution, but let me show you what's going on. So I'll go ahead, get accessory power turned on, and when I go to roll down the window, whole lot of nothing. Take a look from this side. You can see it's getting some movement, but not a whole lot. So what we're gonna have to do to get this fixed up is clearly we're gonna take the door panel off. We'll take a look inside, and I've got a replacement to toss in. So let's start by popping off this door panel and see what we got. So on the door panel here, I think we've got a couple of places we're gonna start to pull this off. Right behind the lever for the door, there's a little pop panel that I suspect has a screw attached to it. And then we've got this fake wood here that's gonna come off. I suspect there's some screws behind there. Then ultimately, all around the rest of the door is where we're gonna have little pops to come apart. And to make this go a little bit better, I've got a few different tools here so that we can pry against the material without damaging it. I'll have these linked down below because it's going to be certainly in your best interest to try and use your own pry tools. The pry tools definitely are going to keep things looking nicer than if, say, you went at it with a screwdriver or something. All right, out we come. So right down here, and I have another panel to pop out. That is going to come out, give us locations for these screws. And it looks like we've got an 8mm here. And it looks like we've got a 7mm here that we're just going to start to undo those screws with. Right off it comes. Same deal here, right underneath. We've got that 7mm. So let's get these loosened up. And finally, down below, looks like we've got another series of these to get at, so 2 more screws to pull out. And now we're going to need to start prying the door panel off. There's several white clips that snap the door panel into the frame of the door. I'll start down at the bottom where we took those screws out, which gave me a spot to be able to use my interior pry tool. Gonna go all the way around. This is a bit fiddly, but take your time because you don't want to break these, and you want to be able to put the door panel back on later without having any nasty and annoying rattles. Woo! All right, there we go. So hopefully you can get a look inside, because in here, now address a few of these connections. The first, starting off with this clip. This is going to be the clip to get the door lever to come off. So get that unclipped. You'll see here, that's going to come out just like so. That's unplugged. And then we've got this wiring connector down below. And so this should simply pull out then unclip. All right. That was a little fussy to get at. We've got one cable down below, and out our entire door card goes. And that right there is the door card. So it's kind of neat. They've got this little bit to help dampen some of the sounds, but just a standard looking door card. And inside of the car, behind this little window, is going to be how we're going to get in and see what's happening with our window regulator. Now, it's important to mention that this does two things. This cover here both keeps some of the elements out. It's going to dampen some of the noise that would be inside of the door pocket, but it also is sealed up with these beautiful rubber that is heat activated. So as we pull this apart, I want to be really careful not to damage the seal too much. And in doing so, it's kind of neat that they have these little rings to pull on. But in doing so, I'm going to reinstall this with a little bit of heat later. That way the butyl is soft and will glue up properly. And so go about this as smooth as you can, because we want that rubber seal to all come off in one piece, which is going to allow us to heat it up and put it back together. Okay. Take a moment, slide through our door latch. Okay. That ended up coming off about as good as you could ever imagine. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside, and we'll take a look at the regulator. And unfortunately, right in here, well, that's going to be our problem. Let's see if we can get this zoomed in. You see that? Well, something has gotten bound up in this window regulator, causing it to, well, yeah, whatever that is that's going on. Wow. So at this point, what have we learned? Well, we've learned that the motor, the cable actually going into the motor, seems to be the part that has failed on this unit. We do know that kind of underneath here, if we were to reach up, we should be able to find the mounts that are actually holding the window up. See if we can get in there. Yep, you can see the clips there. So what I want to go ahead and do is take a look at what I can do to get this motor off. Got our 2 bolts or 3 bolts behind here. So I'll get those off, and then that's going to allow us to kind of make a decision on how we want to stress getting this to come apart. And before starting with the disassembly, gone ahead and taped up the window here. The rationale behind that is the last thing I want the window to do is slam down. So we should be able to kind of now take this moment, start getting at those 3 bolts, and those 3 are going to be 8mm sockets. So let's see if we can get this undone. So this is well enough bound up. If you take a look, that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get anything done there. I'm going to still fuss with it a little bit, but I think my next best move is really just to go ahead and take the regulator out, because even if I can fuss with that, it's clear that the cable is what has failed. Let's get the other one off. I think we're making good progress here. So we've got bolt up top. And we've got the last bolt down here. So go ahead and get this one out. Okay. Off that comes. Then inside of here, I've got what essentially amounts to a clip. There we go. Oh my gosh. Finally. Okay. And out our old window regulator comes. Now to replace the window regulator, I've got this new one. This is an OEM window regulator. I bought it it's an OEM window regulator, GM genuine parts there. I bought this off of Amazon, and I'll have linked down below both the driver and the passenger side, because if you're watching this video, you probably need it. But all we got to do now is slide this puppy back inside. Now, because we saw it come out, we know how it's going to go back together, which is simply we need to slide this back up into place. And you'll notice that both the clips for the window are partway down, but it's going to allow us to be able to kind of slide this into place, get it mounted up, and then we're going to untape the window so we can carefully slide it back into place and get this working. But let's go ahead and slide in our new regulator. Ultimately, we're just kind of guiding the screws back in, or the bolts back into place, whatever we want to call them. Oh. Okay. My goodness gracious. Whoop. There we are. That took a little finagling. Just take your old bolts. We'll just go ahead and start tightening everything up. The top nuts, when these get tightened up, basically what it's catching is the known zero. So we get that tighten right up. And down below, those ones below actually have a little bit of toggle to them. So we need to start with the top bolts first. Get everything aligned before we tighten the rest of it all the way down. Okay. That tightened up. Nice. And so next up at this point, because we've gotten our window regulator all installed properly, now we've got to release the window and be super careful, but we're going to slide it down into these tracks. This is off of the old one there, but you can see in this track, we've got a little clip that is looping around a hole that was on the window to keep the window from sliding up or down in this track. But we need to let it down gently so that we both protect the window and make sure that it glides into the track. And for that, now it's going to be a super scary moment. Where we're taking the safety off. I'm going to keep both a hand inside and the window held up here. So I want this to slide down. And here you should be able to see it. That's the little clip that we need to go into. So I'm going to slide this down slowly. Make sure. So that looks like it's getting aligned. I'm checking the other side as well, because it's right behind the glass there. Okay. See? Okay, clicked. All right, look at that. We're clicked in on both sides. You can see, yep, clicked and clipped. So everything is good to go with that. Sweet. So next step from here, definitely got to get this plugged back in. So we'll slide our connector back on into place, lock it up. Now I'm going to go get the door, see if I can get this to operate before putting it back together. So now we've got the window working. So it's going to start to roll down. Take a look at it going into its track. Back up. Magic. And before we can move forward with putting things back together, we got to first address all of these clips. Now, this one pulled out of the door right up here, and the clips, some of them came off when we pulled the door out, others stayed on the car, and so we're going to need to pull them out individually and slide them back into place on the door card. For that, I've got this little plastic tool, but It's really kind of a violent move to make this happen. So slide this tool in, yeah, and get that pop, and out she's gonna come. Then we just slide that back into place. And the reason I'm doing it with the door card right there, because there's so many, I want to be able to remember where they came from. So before I go through the trouble of heating up and putting that seal back on, let's go ahead and clean up the inside here. Make sure it has a nice, fresh part of the door to hold on to. And now it's time for us to put that seal back on. The neat thing with this is it's got two locating holes basically that are going to allow us to know exactly where to start. But I'll start by sliding the door cable back through for the door handle. And let's see if we can get this oriented to start with. So it's oriented in place just like we need. Now I'm going to take our heat gun on low heat. We don't need a whole ton, but I guess I want to make sure, give it a chance to heat up a little. And getting this sealed back up is going to be crucial to make sure that you don't end up with some vapor issues. So go ahead and take your time. Perfect. Feel super confident with that. So let's go ahead, get the rest of our controls put back together. So with this, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the connector for the wiring and speakers. So that's connected back up. Then we've got to move back into our door handle. Luckily that clips back into place real easy. And then lastly, the door lock. Now we can just go ahead and move forward with screwing the door card back onto the car. So I'm going to start up top here. Like that. Okay. And then we've got the two remaining just down here. And then we've got the two remaining at the bottom of the door. Our final bit is to With all the rust back into place, final bit, go ahead and slide the wood into place. And just check it. Yep. So there we are. Everything is back together. Power this bad boy on. Put the remote in there. And there we are. Thanks so much for joining me to check out how to replace the window regulator on a 2020 GMC Sierra and the matching new body style Chevrolet Silverado as well. This should work on all the trucks anywhere from the 2019 range all the way up until 2025. So thanks again. Have a great time. Definitely browse the channel and good luck on fixing your own truck.